honestly just a matter of getting discovered in a way that isn't in a way that isn't. What? I thought you quit.
Hello everyone and welcome to actually another video, but a Dubnus's Drubbings video, and for once it's not Lane Smash. Instead it's going to be another tournament we're going to be talking about today, Infantry Open. Okay, it's a 6v6 tournament starting at the end of the month, and there's some good teams. There really are some really good teams lined up, but it's a format, as far as I can tell, which is going to be designed around, the top teams will be playing each other, and then kind of the middle and lower tier teams will also be playing each other. So we don't have a format document. I want to put this out there now. As far as I'm aware, the format hasn't been released. There's no schedule, so on and so forth. I'm sure they're working on it. The volunteers, the organisers, but currently we don't have a lot of details. So the only details we really have are kind of the in-game match rules, the map pool, and the rosters. And so I'm going to go through the rosters today, and I'm just going to talk about the rosters, because I can't really give like too many in detailed predictions, but I will kind of say who my favourites are to win the tournament. Now, the reason why B-Way, right, isn't in this tournament, although there are lots of B-Way and L-Way players in different teams, the reason why B-Way's not playing is because I am going to be busy during this tournament. I am away on vacation, I am travelling, so unfortunately I'm not around, which means no B-Way team, which is a shame, and probably some less casting. But for you guys, what it means is my schedule is going to be a little bit different. The uploads will not be as regular as they were for Lane Smash because I won't have access to my PC. But hopefully, nonetheless, I'm sure I'll be able to get some content out or something. Okay, 1 KPM. Now, this is a really good team, by the way. Kind of the remnants, I suppose, of the old DDRG roster, all the way back from PIL 1. And for those who don't know, PIL, of course, was the old 6v6 kind of tournament. And we've got some really good players here. We've got Gylo is one who straight away you're like, yeah, I know him. Master Bob, another one. Simple Nub, of course. Simple Nub, of course, was one of perhaps the best players in the game in terms of heavy assault infantry gameplay at one point. Probably can still be considered as one of those best players. And of course, Essing is very good. And that's not to say the other people on the 1 KPM aren't good, because they really are. I just wanted to kind of point out that the top performers. I don't know how good Joe Kima is at the moment, because I haven't seen him play recently along with a fair amount of them. But if he's anything like his older form, he's going to smash it. So 1 KPM, definitely a favourite to finish high up. I'm thinking, 3rd place maybe, but they have the potential to win the whole thing, for sure. So 6 versus 6 is the next team. Now this is basically Liberty. Okay. It's being run here by Blackson. And they've got Menace, Crypt the Bear. Crypt the Bear is really good LA. And I think it's going to be obviously Super Tank from the B-Way rosters there. And I think the only other one who it's kind of interesting, I just want to point out, right, is Recursion, Cade. Very rarely do we see Recursion players play in in tournaments, in Jaeger tournaments. So it will be interesting to see what happens with that individual, because I've never seen them play. The only recursion person we normally see is Menace. Of course, Savagery's on there. That's an interesting one because I know Savagery did play Pillar A with, I think it was the Help roster. Kaiser Falk is a solid player as well. Overall, this is a very solid mid-tier team, and if there's going to be a mid-tier bracket, this team is probably going to be a favourite to win such a bracket. So moving then on to ALPS. Now ALPS, this roster comes from originally EU Spring Scrims. That was the first time I at least saw them, and they're a very decent side. They didn't win EU Spring Scrims, but like if there was a middle bracket, they probably would have won it. And so ALPS versus 6v6 or Liberty, that's going to be a really interesting matchup. Really excited actually to watch that one, because I think they're very similar. Although I would give the edge to Liberty. And there's a few notable people on ALPS' roster. Walker being one, and another one being a pilot, Honey Badger, who was a pilot for WFAT in Lane Smash this year, is playing with them on the Infantry roster this time, so that'll be interesting to see. No other really cool facts that I can bring out. Lucas and Sanaway are also very decent. So we can expect good things, solid performances from them, right? Nothing exceptional, nothing which could, win a tournament, but definitely a solid performance nonetheless. Okay, so Babu, this is interesting. I am not sure how this is going to work, this team. So it's basically the old Backs team, right? We've got, well, I say the old Backs team. It's not really. There are some members of Backs on this team. Would I call it a Backs roster? I don't know. I guess possibly it's a Backs team, right? But we've got other notable people on here, right? Who were never a part of Backs. Krog, who's I'm going to be honest, is a cracked bolter. And then we've got a Nalo, right? 1RPCX Nalo. That's interesting. French player. Didn't really expect to see them on a 6v6 team, especially not a Backs team, right? Which is kind of more NA orientated. Islander also NA. And then another recursion player, Spaceman. Again, it's really cool to see them, these individuals entering into Jaeger a little bit more. And then, so when it comes to this being a Backs roster, I mean, I guess, right, Zangief, Alvasta, obviously, freaking Josh. My concern is how this team is gonna work, right? Because, okay, yeah, let's say we got Krog on the bolt, right, or Josh on the bolt, right? That's fine. So you've got two bolts there, so that position's covered. Bapti, is probably the best heavy on that roster. And then you've got, I guess, Aniket on LA. Maybe Pavu on LA, possibly. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just worried about how this roster's gonna work. And I have question marks surrounding Pavu's role as well. Because I know he leaves Pog quite often. And the reason why he leaves Pog is, when he stops enjoying the game, he stops playing. And I understand that, and I think that's, a pretty fair thing to do. Or, well, it's a sensible thing to do for yourself. I'm not sure it's necessarily fair on everyone else in the lobby. If you're not having fun in 6v6, and then, you enter a tournament, and it's a tournament match, if you're not having fun within the match, the tournament match? Are you going to ditch your team? That's that's a question mark, I think, right? Um, but it's worth pointing out here that not all 6v6 teams have kind of traditional IGLs or captains, right? They don't all have trainings or prep or anything like this. In fact, a lot of them aren't structured in a way. So, you know, maybe they're going for a not very structured approach, just a kind of chill approach, and see what happens. But definitely question marks surrounding that roster, and we're going to have to see them play some games first before we can really kind of measure them against the other teams. Bullet catchers of Connery, Beacock, Jeff Ardino is teaming up with a few people from kind of other rosters. We've got a couple, I guess, ringers. Purdue Spoiler is one. Utter Chaos is another. Apart from that, though, it's a very Connery orientated roster. And I don't think they're going to do great, but I don't think they're going to be the worst team in the tournament. I'll get to that later on. So yeah, hopefully Jeff Ardino, he's been learning a lot, and hopefully he's able to lead his team to good things. Okay, DF, right? Another, I guess, a B-Hot remake, kind of, right? And this is one of the favourites of the tournament. Okay, so 1 KPM and DF here, right? Let's be honest, just powerful rosters. I mean, we've got Slendy, Sayun, Litty, Durdle, Alpha, DF, Gretchen, right? Mary, Corrales, Richard, James. I don't know who Boxer is, forgive me. Dante, Rag, Toby Gamer, and Flare Zest. That's a fucking good roster. That is. That is a good roster. There's not many names I don't recognise on there, and yeah, that's gonna be a fucking powerful roster. Will they win the whole thing? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, you know. So, definitely one of the favourites going into the tournament, and just overall, a strong roster, you know. So yeah, Fiji is another strong roster. Lots of names which can be recognised here, right? TJ and Frog Mike, right? Frog Mike, of course, happy dog, right? Pandu on the Bolt, Genidia LA, Sup, who can also play LA, CC DMC, right? Cracked infantry player. It's a strong roster, and indeed, are they as strong as a DF roster this in a 6v6 tournament? I don't know. Right, obviously they won the 10v10 tournament. Can they win 6v6? I don't know. That DF roster looking a bit too cracked. But they're definitely my favourite, I guess, for second place, right? So DF first, Fiji second, 1 KPM third. But yeah, just a cracked roster overall. And again, any names on there which I don't recognise. I think the only one who I don't recognise is Hailstorm. All the rest of them I definitely do. Full then, which is basically Gobs, right? You've got Fiji and Gobs, right? And again, this is a very powerful team, right? Lib, Empowered, Cohor, although they normally play Medic, so it'll be interesting to see if they bring Medic into 6v6. And yeah, you can expect really just a strong performance here from this team. Going to be one of the good mid-tier teams for sure. Then we've got the Baguettes. Listen, they didn't do very well in 10v10. They did okay, but are they going to do very well in 6v6? They're going to be kind of towards the mid tier, maybe the lower tier, right? Again, they admit it in their description here. They're a beginner team, right? So that's kind of where we can expect them to be. But although they are a beginner team, we can see they've got lots of experience in the form of Osprey and Ross, two very experienced players who have spent a lot of time on the game. Mid, I know, has also spent a fair amount, along with Mamaluk and uh, Chocorismo, I think, is a bolt, and Atipik um, is also pretty. I think he's a heavy though, and Brenos is also a heavy. So they've got a fair amount of experience, but also, I don't know, a lot of inexperienced players as well. Again, kind of mid-tier, mid-tier, lower-tier team. And then again, another mid-tier team that we have is IFCU. Okay, led by Shul, who's a decent heavy. Silkosh, who's cracked at both heavy, bolt, or LA. He's good at them all. Donny, Don's right? Um, Ipel was pretty good as well. Good heavy assault. Um, Top Hat, I guess, is a backup LA. Kiki is a bolt. Primos he's such a solid heavy. I've always liked playing with him. Interesting, they've got Monkey on the roster as well. Um, used to be in backs, so I assume is still in backs. I think he's living in France at the moment, which is why he's not on an NA team, I suppose. And yeah, just a solid team overall. Again, a mid-tier team, and that's where again I'd expect to find them. Okay, NJ, which is basically BJ from Cobalt, but actually they've just called themselves NJ for whatever reason. I guess modeling themselves after the Enjoy, I guess, right? So we've got Sunshine who's leading them. I know Sunshine played with him in both B-Way and on Cobalt a couple of times, so good dude. Elliot, I know, is also a good dude. Eternal Rebel B-Way player, solid heavy. Beyond, also a solid heavy. He is from B-Way as well as Gru. So 3 B-Way players on this roster. I expect them to do quite well. It all depends on how serious they take it, because I know there's a few jokers on that roster. Kiz. Um, is there anyone else? No one of note really in terms of 6v6 ability. That is right. Again, we're just talking about 6v6 stuff here, not talking about anything else. So yeah, there's a few people on there who I don't recognize. I think NR12 used to be from Flag, which was a break off of TTRO. From Cobalt. That's an interesting name to see on there. Not necessarily a name you'd expect to see on a 6v6 roster. So it's good to see these newer teams joining. Anyone else who? No, I don't think so. It'll be interesting to see how Eternal Beyond and Gru do, because if Sunshine runs it strict, he might alienate perhaps some of the BJ players. But if he runs it too casually, then they might not get anywhere and they might not improve. And of course, if they're not improving, that's going to go against what Eternal Beyond and Gru would be looking for. So we'll see how Sunshine is able to balance that, I suppose. Moving forward then to Oh Sure, which is which is such a funny name, but it's a Prey team basically. Again, a couple of B-Way and Prey, B-Way and L-Way, just that, and Plague, right? And then L-Way, we've got Doughboy in there. As well as Cool Lamp. Actually, Cool Lamp is back in L-Way as well now, and Ascendance actually is part of L-Way. So it's yeah, it's got some Prey people, it's got some SKL, but it's also got, Ascendance, Doughboy, JD, and Plague. So 4 B-Way / L-Way players. Oh, 5 including Amp. So we'll see how this goes. This team versus Babu, that's going to be a bit of a derby match just in terms of them playing Pavu, who used to be part of Prey. Um, although that is where I guess uh, the history between those two teams ends. But it's led by Jyoti, and Jyoti's a cool guy. They've got mentality on there as well. It's good to see Prey still around. There was lots of talk kind of during Lane Smash. You know, what's the future Prey going to look like? I guess this is what the future Prey is going to look like. I don't think this is going to be a great team. I think they are going to be a low tier team. But no reason why they still can't beat people such as the Baguettes or even NJ. Moving on to Pog then. Again, another mid-tier, low-tier team. But they've got some decent people on here. Terran, Woofy, Snitch, Stray's decent. Resk is okay. Kianov is very good. Bloodwork and Kianov are probably their best players there. And yeah, they played Pelex's try. What we need to note here is they do not have from that roster. What was his name? Oh, he was so cracked. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I've forgotten. Cracked player from kind of the east, like the far east. Oh my gosh. I can't remember their name, but they were cracked. And he's on this roster. And he really helped try in terms of firepower, I seem to remember, in Pelex. So, again, a low tier team. And again, they admit this, right? Mediocre skill level, still new to 6v6. So we'll see what they could do. Oh, they've got Ollie and Orivar as well, two other solid players. Shuffle then. This is probably the worst team so far that we've talked about. Listen, there's no easy way to say that, so I'm just going to be honest about it. There's no one on this roster I recognise except for Sandorus. There's no one else who I recognise, I'll be honest with you. So yeah, don't expect them to do much. Although I do believe this team was, or at least this team's name was in EU Spring Scrims. So it's good to see them returning for another 6v6 tournament. We've then got Sniff. Again, a low tier team, just like Shuffle. They do have some okay players, I think. I recognise Thelvian I've seen on live a couple times. Like, I think they've got okay aim from my recollection. Doc Ralph is also okay, and Niru. Niru actually was, I think, going to be potentially on the B-Way roster as kind of one of the reserves or one of the substitutes. So it's good to see him on a team. Doc Ralph, I think, he's got good aim as well. I think I've already said that. However, is there anyone else I want to point out? Honestly, I don't know the names well enough to be quite honest with you. So we'll see how it goes for them. Tide. They don't play the point. Tide, led by Varunda, right? Very cool dude. T and Bink is on there. Nikum is on there. Frederick is on there. Mattis, I think I recognise. And yeah, Vitamin as well, actually. If my memory is correct, he's also a pretty decent heavy assault. So a mid-tier team, maybe a lower-tier team, depends how serious they take it. And definitely one of the teams with a better logo. VCats, then. VCats, listen, if Shuffle isn't the worst roster, right, then this probably is. But actually, VCats, in terms of their infantry, performed very well for kind of what you would expect them to do in Lane Smash in the infantry side. So actually, They're probably going to put up a decent fight. However, we don't know how they perform as heavy assaults, really. Like, 6v6 is so different to what they've done in the past. We'll see. We'll see how they do. I don't have necessarily high hopes for them. So then we've got Ziz, the last team to talk about. And, earlier I said, DF first place, Fiji second, and then 1KPM fourth. Well, actually, with this team, that can all change. Okay, you've got Zyros, Karate, Lizard, Wook, Leroy, FD Swan, Ryan, Spirit, Baddie, Theorem, right? And a lot of other names on there which I recognise, right? And if you follow 6v6, you'll recognise them too. Ziz, just a really good team. And so the top 4 teams that we have are 1KPM, in no particular order, 1KPM, DF, Fiji, and Ziz. Those are the top 4 teams for this tournament. Who's going to win? Probably it's going to go DF, and then it's going to be Fiji or Ziz. And then it'll be KPM, 1KPM, probably below those 2 teams. That's what I would expect. In terms of just like raw skill of the rosters, I think actually Fiji might be at a bit of a disadvantage in terms of raw skill. However, in terms of teamwork, I think Fiji is really going to be up there. So they might be able to take the advantage with that a little bit. Also, I haven't necessarily seen a lot of these players playing POG. I know I've definitely been seeing 1KPM play POG. I know I've been seeing DF players and Fiji players playing POG. I haven't, however, been seeing a lot of Ziz players playing POG. So how much preparation, training, and effort they're going to put into this, I don't know. And obviously, the less they put in, the more we would expect that to, of course, impact results. So to conclude, the top 4 teams are, as I've said, in no particular order, 1KPM, DF, Fiji, and Ziz. And so that is kind of my IO preview. Let me just quickly run through the map pool. It's kind of just what we would expect, right? Acre South, Chak Fusion, Garden South, Southern Crossing, Pale Canyon, Castles Crossing, Paris Eastern, Rashnu, and Xenotech. The only thing which is different from previous 6v6s is Xenotech Labs making a return. Teams really don't like this map. I like it. It's a really interesting map. It's very dynamic. It's very different. I much prefer it actually to Rashnu. Because although they're very similar in layout, right? They've got this double powerhouse, right? Kind of building. Although they're, very similar, I actually do think Xenotech is better, especially for teams which want to kind of put in, I guess, more structured styles, which I'm biased towards. So that is my Infantry Open preview. I hope you enjoyed, and have a good one. Peace.